As a lover of adventure, I decided to step out of my Texan comfort zone and move across the world to the beautiful country of Australia. I obviously never knew what to expect being thrown into a different culture, but I was going to try my best to become an Aussie with a southern accent. When I originally left the States, it was winter, so the first thing I did when I arrived in Melbourne was found a beach. Thankfully, it only took an hour by public transportation to have the sun beating down on me, a beverage in hand, and my toes in the sand. After spending most of my days in St. Kilda, I decided it was time to explore the city a bit more, which brought me to my next destination of the Docklands. Standing by the water on a beautiful pier, looking at the skyline was just the sight to see. Once classes began and people figured out that when I talked, I was in fact not Australian, I figured it was time to throw my guns up at my new uni. Fast forwarding 2 months, I took my first big adventure to Sydney. While there, I took the opportunity to climb 1,345 steps up the Sydney Harbour Bridge to get a high-class view of the city. After that hard work, a nice ferry ride to Manly Beach was a necessity. This is a very well-known beach where catching a few waves is the main attraction. Now it was time to visit the amazing landmark known as the Sydney Opera House. I actually got a behind-the-scenes tour and got to hear the orchestra practice. After an incredible week in Sydney, I had to get back to reality and uni in Melbourne. Now, to consider myself a real Australian, I had to watch a real footy game. Just to clarify, it's technically soccer with a football and a bunch of good-looking guys running around playing hacky sack. But I have to say, footy games are so electrifying that you can actually feel the stadium shaking from the crowd roaring. On to my next adventure, a group of friends and I rented a car for the weekend to take a drive along the Great Ocean Road. I can't even begin to describe how breathtaking of a sight it is. You'll just have to see for yourself one of these days, but until then, pictures will have to do. On our last stop of the trip, in a cozy little town of Warrnambool, I had to catch a picture with this beach. I actually couldn't believe the color of the sand and the water. Just take a look for yourself. Closing out my Australian adventures, I had to grasp one last sunset before making my way back to the good US of A. I wouldn't trade one moment for my 6 months abroad. It was by far the best experience of my life, and I can't wait for even more journeys to come.